So first up this morning, we're going to have Anna Tauzin and Doug Hunter, and they're going to talk a little bit about some of the innovative and exciting changes in restaurant technology and how to use that technology to expand your clientele. So please join me in welcoming the two of them to the stage.
Thank you. Thanks, Roxanne. Thank you, all 7 of you. I appreciate you being here so early. I know it was kind of hard to get going this morning too for us. So those of you that were here yesterday, I recognize a few of you. Thank you. I'm with the National Restaurant Association based out of DC. Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna talk like this then. No, that's fine. So I do innovation projects. So I run our innovation programs and projects at the National Restaurant Association in DC. That includes the Restaurant Innovation Summit, which is an event that's held every fall, this year in Austin. And I also do tech tours and lots of other things planned. And one of my favorite things is to meet restaurant operators who, I'm gonna just keep moving this thing around until it sounds all right. Is that better? That's better. Thank you. And then one of my favorite things is to meet with restaurant operators who are excited to try new things. And so I guess about last month or something like that, I was reading the latest Entrepreneurial magazine, and Doug was mentioned in there for doing some very interesting things. So I'm happy today to introduce you guys to Doug Hunter, who's the Director of IT and Training with the Plant Cafe Organic in San Francisco, California. So thank you, Doug, for joining me. And would you mind telling us a little bit more about what your job's like?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here. So my job is basically kind of just infusing the tech and integrating it into all of our operations. So it kind of started off, both of our original partners are huge in the tech world, used to be EA Sports, so they just naturally love picking up all these things and being like, let's try it out, let's try it out. And the problem was they didn't have that connection to kind of bring it in operationally. That's kind of where I came into play. Normally as an ops person and just having a passion for the tech side. So eventually just kind of moved into this role, specializing in the technology, POS integration, online ordering, in-app ordering now, as well as loyalty program, kind of just building an all-in-one and taking all these different pieces they liked and trying to figure out how we can snap them together. So that's kind of how this came about.
That's good. So it's lucky that you have owners who are interested in technology. That seems to be the first good thing that you had going in, because you had an interest in technology as well. Before we dive into other questions, what is it like to try and encourage your bosses perhaps to choose the right thing? How do you convince them?
With convincing them, I will go through 3 or 4 different options and be like, here's all the different things you can choose from, here's what they offer, here's my recommendation. So really try to reel them in, because they see something they get excited about and they try to jump on it. So they're kind of the opposite of most restaurateurs, I feel. But so it's just kind of how does this work operationally, and also how's it going to impact your staff? How user-friendly is it going to be?
Okay, great. So let's talk first about hospitality. How would you define it, and how do you see tech playing a role within hospitality?
So hospitality, so old school, one of my first managers when I first in the restaurant industry, it was just the feeling of home. You're supposed to bring somebody into your home, welcome them as a guest, just like you would at your house. So, I try to do that with every single person. I mean, I don't necessarily go up and hug everyone, because I might get in trouble for that. But aside from that, I try to, bring them all in and treat them as if they're at my house. And I want them to love everything and compliment it and, be excited about what they're having. Really just make that connection with every single guest and go, a step beyond.
And then how do you see technology fitting into that?
So I think that's where it gets a little more complicated, is tech can help with that, but you don't want it to invade that feeling. So I think you really need to find stuff that pairs well with your brand, and whether you're quick service or full service, and see, what works well, because generally they don't coincide much. So I think it's really tailoring that to have something that assists and streamlines on the back end, but doesn't interrupt any of your service or how it interacts with the guest.
I mean, that's the ideal, right? But for a long time, I think we've had the problem in restaurant technology where it has felt like an interruption. When the tableside tablets first appeared, they kind of interrupted service. They interrupted the feeling of a family dinner. But I think now, and I mean, maybe you disagree or agree, but I think now that because technology is so commonplace, that people are okay seeing it in a hospitality environment? Do you think?
Yeah, I think people are okay seeing it there, but I think there's still kind of the disconnect, and you've got to have your staff really like walking them through it and helping them with it. People are becoming more tech savvy for sure, and like having some of that fun, but I feel like something full service, people aren't wanting like all that tech integration, whereas if you're out for like a casual quick lunch or something, then it is sure like, here's my app, let's go, online order, shoot it out, I'm gonna go pick it up and be gone.
Right.
So I think there's different layers depending on what you're trying to do with your brand.
Right, and Plant Cafe is not full service, correct?
We actually have two concepts, so
Okay.
that's where it got complicated
Yeah,
for me
let's
and
talk about
why I've had to vet multiple things. So we do have 2 of our restaurants are full service, and then the other 5 are all quick service cafes.
Okay.
So that's why like trying to figure out what works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. So
It's
that's
an interesting problem.
right. So it's been difficult to kind of find like what is all encompassing. And that's kind of been my biggest challenge, but why I've noticed it impacts each one a little bit differently.
Right. So, why don't we walk through the Plant Cafe? Let's go with the quick service or fast casual. Is it quick service or fast casual?
So
According to you.
So it's normally like fast casual, but our downtown locations are more like the quick service,
Got it.
in and out, 10 minutes or less is what we're going for.
What's your check average?
The check average there is around like 18, so it's still on the higher
Okay.
end, but it's all organic fare. So once you tack on a drink and
Sure.
your protein, then you're about that.
That's kind of nice. So let's talk about that. Walk me through what a guest would experience if they were fully embedded in using technology at the quick service plants.
So quick service right now, pretty simple. You would just join our app, go on, sign up, enter your payment, and it's all integrated through Level Up as well.
Okay.
And then our own online ordering system. So they're getting the experience of kind of like the Level Up app, but they can go on, do the online order, submit it. They're going to get the rewards and everything all accounted for. And then they just go to our express lane at whichever location they went for, wait in line at the express lane, go pick it up, just drop their name, we hand it over, and it's done.
Great. So, and how is the express lane, like, how is the food prepared in a separate area, or is it all one service lane in the back?
So all one service lane in the back, and then it's just kind of split up. So we have regular like to go and for here orders
Okay.
going to one side, and then all like phone to go and pick up coming on the other side. So
And so how does that look whenever you're a consumer and you're going in? Because so the problem I have with Chipotle, although I haven't been there recently, is that there's not when you order ahead on Chipotle, you just sort of cut around to the front of the line, and everyone looks at you like you're some jerk, cutting, and you're just like, I placed I'm smarter than you, like I don't want to go through that line. And so does the Plant Cafe, how do you guys address that? Do you have signage or a special carpet or something like that? What does that look like?
right, so we do have signage. So one store just has like a big sign that's hanging about this express lane, drink orders only, or pick
Got
up. And then we have 3 other registers that are just dedicated to the main line, so they can just wrap around the queue and then order there.
Got it.
And then our other quick service location has actually like a sign, kind of like a host stand that would just say, express this way, you order, you go that way.
Got it. So
so-
and y'all call it Express.
Right.
Okay. Instead of like Fast Lane or, I'm sure there was all sorts of branding considerations there.
Right.
So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about how technology is developed. Obviously, you've been interested in tech for a while and restaurants at the same time. What is it like working with tech companies, and what do you think a role should be with restaurateurs when it comes to developing technology?
So I think that restaurateurs really need to realize they're not just like the user, the operator, of what the system is, but they also need to be like the evaluator and providing that feedback, because it has to work for everybody. And if it's not working for you, don't be afraid to like reach out and say, hey, this is wrong. Like, this is too clunky. It's slowing me down. What can we do to fix this? So I think that operators really need to take on that evaluation role of like what can make this better, as well as what are the gaps in training. Like they have to be the one who takes it and makes it actually work in their locations, which is a whole different level that the tech company probably isn't going to think about.
Yeah, that's true. So whenever I talk to restaurateurs about developing technology with people, I encourage them to have those conversations with the startups and with the large tech companies, like, hey, here's some unsolicited feedback about your product, basically. And for the most part, they seem pretty willing to take it and run with it. Has that been your experience?
Definitely. I think they're really looking for that feedback. So like I highly encourage people to reach out to them. Like find somebody, and there's so many tech companies now, like in the hospitality industry, and trying to get our money, honestly. I mean, that's what it is. So let's do it. they want to know what the differences are, like what could make it better, because then they're more marketable elsewhere.
Right.
So I mean, it's totally there. So I think people get intimidated by that, but they want to know your feedback. I mean, I meet with a lot of the CEOs from like InstaWork that we'll probably talk about later. For example, and we just sit down and we chat, like, what's good for you this month, what's not, and how can we make it better? Like, so we kind of like brainstorm together, like, what can make this a little bit better, or a little more seamless for both, whether the guest or ourselves or the applicants in that case.
That's true. Okay, let me pull up my questions. So, okay, which companies do you have that you're working with right now, and which companies did you kind of just buy off the shelf? Like with Level Up, for example, you guys work with them to get the mobile app white labeled, so that's in the App Store. But who do you think has been like the most willing to work with you and create something unique for the plan?
Unique for the plan, I would probably say Level Up has gone a pretty far way to do that.
Okay.
They've built all of the app for us. They really helped with all the integration, and worked with us for a rewards program. And also, like, I kind of wanted to see what's the next step. I kind of be a little more proactive about it than reactive, and let's just start layering in stuff now that we might be able to use later.
Right.
So they really took that feedback, and we specialize in a lot of like gluten-free, organic, vegan. So a lot of our guests have these specific dietary restrictions.
Right.
So in their sign up in their profile, like I had them build in like all of those options, so you can select, hey, I'm gluten-free. So then later on, as we're developing the app further, I want to be able to use our beacons, and then push out, like, as they're walking by and they might have our app be like, hey, we just got a brand new, vegan bowl, blah, 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 come try it out.
Nice.
So that way it's like kind of more targeted marketing and really like reaching out to our guests and knowing that we really take into consideration their dietary restrictions and want to help them further.
Nice. So just as a side note too, with Level Up, neither one of us is getting paid by Level Up, by the way, at all. But we wrote a white paper with them last year on mobile payment in restaurants, and if you want a free copy of that, you can go to restaurant.org/paymentshq, and it's a specific content area for restaurateurs about payments, and it's all about sort of current trends in mobile payment, cybersecurity considerations to take in mind, things like that. And it's written in a way that like my mother could understand it. So it's not super geeky language. So I hope it's very accessible. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that they're doing really good stuff with you guys. So what do you think about some of the tech trends that I talked about yesterday? What do you think is probably the most important for restaurateurs to keep in mind right now? Or you can call bullshit on me too. Like, what did I say yesterday that's not relevant?
Right. I think it's really like your social media presence is what we've got to focus on right now. Like, there's a huge impact there, and like Yelp has been one of those that really like disrupted the market and kind of changed the game quite a bit. And a lot of us, are apprehensive, and I understand, but it's kind of like now it's a necessary evil we just have to deal with. I mean, that entire industry from like 2007 to 2012 has grown like 80% just in like reviews and those search engines and everything. So it's not something that's going to go away. So it's something that I think Yelp is probably the biggest one for our industry, and you kind of have to embrace it, and you have to keep following up with those guests and use that feedback that they have and try to turn those reviews around, because a lot of the millennials, they're looking at that information. And so it's really focusing on that and knowing that you have to embrace it and move forward to really keep on pulling in and generating all of that buzz around your restaurant.
Right. So reviews, what else do you think is out there that's important?
Reviews, I think ordering. Right now you've got Caviar and DoorDash, and you listed an army of them yesterday during your presentation.
They are an army, yes.
And it's working with them and also making sure they don't take advantage of you. Like, a lot of them are trying to take way too much off the top. So it's learning like how to negotiate and say, well, I'm going to go to them instead. And you really kind of have to like barter with them and get them down to the right price point for you, because they're not going to go away either, unfortunately. So you've got to kind of figure out which one pairs best for you. And then make sure you don't have like 5 different tablets at your cashier and trying to deal with that. So really find your partners that work best for you.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. We went to, Doug and I went to a restaurant yesterday. They already had, I think they had 3 up there in addition to their POS. And you guys have, I think, 3 next to your POS as well.
Right.
And so it's, you've got all these tablets running, and you have to, as you were telling me yesterday, you have to keep them all charged, make sure they're secure, make sure people are trained on how to do all of them. Like, it's a little overwhelming. So let's name names a little bit when it comes to on-demand. Who did you turn down?
I've turned down Amazon. So
Okay.
Amazon's the most recent one, and they're just wanting way too much off the top. Like
How
they're
much?
trying to sell. They're going for 30%, and they
That's
would
a lot
not
of
budge
money.
on 30%. And I was like, you can't do that in the restaurant industry. We don't make that sort of profit. Like there's no way that'll work. So even though you're giving me great coverage, I love Amazon. So don't, I'm a complete Prime user. I get it. But I was like, no, there's no way my restaurant can take care of it. But I'll be trying it out as soon as it's live, like for sure.
Yeah, have you ordered through Amazon, like on-demand?
It's not live in San Francisco
Okay.
yet, so I think it's launching next month.
Right.
So they're trying to get us on board in the very beginning. So unfortunately, I had to turn them down. But Uber Eats did the same thing. They came to us with the same price point. Like, there's no way. Like, don't even bother.
Yeah, and that was 30%, by the way, in case y'all didn't catch that. That's
Yeah.
pretty huge. So how many
Yeah.
of y'all right now are using on-demand services, both in your restaurant and as consumers? Like, have you used on-demand in the past week? Just one or two? Really? No? Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I buy from it constantly. Oh no, it's fine. I can hear. Hey, sorry. So who do you have right now in on-demand? Who are you guys working with right now?
Right now, we're using Caviar, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Uber Eats is new. We talked them way down, luckily.
So not 30% now?
No, not 30%.
What is it now?
So we cut it in half. And then said, we'll come on for half that. You do have quite a good brand. We'll work with that. It's still pretty high for us.
Yeah.
But, and then Caviar really hit San Francisco pretty early on, so we adopted that pretty quickly.
Right.
But unfortunately, they didn't hold their regions very well. So like they lost the peninsula. So we ended up going to DoorDash, so we had some sort of delivery service down in the peninsula for a Burlingame location, and then kept Caviar at the other spot. So that's how it kind of came about that we had these multiple ones.
Interesting.
Because they pulled out of a market. I don't think they had enough delivery persons to like drive
Handle it. Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be sort of a battle of survival, I think, in that sphere. I mean, there are so many people that are willing to work as drivers and delivery people that I think they're hopping from one business to another, and so it's pretty easy to lose market share there. I predict that at least 2 will be gone by the end of 2016, and I have in mind who I think, but I'm not going to say yet because I don't want to be proven wrong.
Fair enough, but you're seeing that already, like with Spoon Rocket and Sprig. That just happened, last week or earlier this week? And that
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, like what happened with Spoon Rocket and Sprig?
Sure. So, they both were competing quite heavily. Sprig, I think, got ahead faster and got a commissary going, and then started sourcing some of their own, so they were making a little more.
Yeah.
And eventually just kind of took over Spoon Rocket literally, and just bought them out.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that later with Caviar or DoorDash. Something's going to give, and somebody's going to get.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
What?
There's going to be a drum line in 2 minutes.
There's a drum line in 2 minutes.
Playing music on
Oh.
the stage. So do you guys want to maybe open up for Q&A for a couple of minutes once that starts?
I guess
Because
so.
they will
Sure.
need-
Sure. Did y'all hear that? There's a drum line coming. Did y'all know about this?
There's more than one stage.
That's
Sorry.
totally fine. Thank you for the heads up.
All right.
Yeah, we can, if y'all have any questions right now, we can keep going, but yes, ma'am. Customer experience management, employee experience management. So as far as what programs he's using to keep track of reviews and social management and things.
Got you. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
Sorry.
data management basically too. No? Got it. Okay. So in-store customer experience management to make sure that they're fine in-store, before they leave and write a negative review. What are you doing?
We're still very old
guess
school
with
with
table
that.
service,
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
with
on
table
that.
service and stuff. It's still table touching going up there. Even so, for our quick service and fast casual concepts, all of our bussers are trained to, when they pre-bus, how was everything today? So I guess that does set us apart a little bit because we do still pre-bus and everything. We actually have floor staff that's still handling them at our cafes.
Yeah.
So they know to how was everything today, and if they're kind of in about it, then the manager immediately comes up and says, what could have been better? How can I help you? So we do still try to catch them, but it's very old school style, I guess. We're not using any technology or anything there to curb that.
Have you tried some before? In other restaurants that you worked at? Did you they've got the tabletop.
Here it comes.
I'm kind of excited. I have no idea what to expect. All right, we'll wait a second. see how loud this is going to be.
Right?
Okay. So have you tried things like that are more high tech in the other restaurants? I mean, I've seen things like that, but I don't really see a lot of ROI on it, frankly.
Yeah, I don't either. I think when I was working for Freshly, we had something similar to that, like just kind of like an iPad that they could come up to and say, hey, this is how it was, and try to catch them internally. But honestly, like, I'm not gonna get up from my table. I'm a Yelp user too, and like I'll just sit there and be like, I know, don't get crazy on me, don't get crazy. Only good reviews. I only do good. So try to help, not hurt. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna get up for it. Like, I'm not gonna go to an iPad.
No.
I don't see people using it that often, unfortunately. But it is a good question, and definitely like an area that could use some improvement if somebody knows how to capitalize on that.
I think for a fast casual or quick service concept that might have kiosk ordering, I think adding that last screen in about how was your experience today, that's a pretty good way to like ask right then. But at that point, they've only gone through half of the interaction. So it's kind of hard to catch them. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, you can use beacon technology to push a survey immediately once they cross a barrier. I only know a few brands doing that right now, and they tend to be larger brands. So, and I can ask them and find out how that's going if you're curious. Yeah, great question though, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about hiring. This is a huge issue for not just restaurateurs, but so before, when we were in the recession, the job market opened up, or the job pool opened up quite a bit. There was a lot of eligible employees, hiring was fairly easy. But now, as that unemployment rate is shrinking, so too is the open availability of candidates. So I know a lot of restaurateurs are having a hard time finding quality talents, keeping them, making sure they're satisfied, and also helping with their career progression as well. So let's talk a little about that. How are you guys addressing this?
So yeah, that definitely has been like our biggest issue, especially in 2015, was just turnover. And San Francisco, due to like minimum wage increase, we're seeing just a flood of people like coming in for minimum wage jobs into the city. And I'll try to talk a little bit louder, maybe it's like this will work. But so we're seeing like kind of a flood of that happening. And as of like this past month, San Francisco County is down to 3.3% unemployment. So basically, yeah, I mean, that's super intense. So trying to find the right candidate and like attract them is a big one. Can you guys still hear me back there at all? Okay.
Feel free to move closer if you need to.
All right. So I luckily stumbled upon Instawork. So Instawork try to be like the HR department as well, to a degree. They're kind of doing that initial process of like screening people, and just grabbing them, pulling them in. So it's kind of like a Craigslist situation. You set up your post, and but then beyond that, once you're done setting up the post and submitting it, you also set up your own schedule. So you say, I want to see these applicants Monday through Friday during my slow time of like 2 to 5.
So you set up your availability to see the candidates in person.
Correct.
And they schedule that for you?
And they take care of all of that. So what happens then, the applicants show up in my dashboard, I review them and say, yeah, I want to see you, and you. Then they reach out and start scheduling all of them in our time slots.
Nice.
So you give them the amount of time you want to spend per applicant, and yeah, so it kind of just sets up everything for you. It's really handy.
That's fantastic.
So it eliminates a lot of time there. And they're basically just going through like Craigslist and they're pulling it for you. I'm not sure how much is Craigslist posting here?
I don't know.
Does anybody know?
$25 per posting?
Okay. San Francisco's $75. And so
Jeez,
Instawork is $100, but you don't get buried like within a day.
Interesting.
So with Instawork, they're still constantly trying to find more applicants for you, and so that runs for 3 weeks, and they're just constantly pulling more applicants and trying to get those positions filled for you.
That's really cool.
So they've been a big lifesaver, but like I was saying earlier, it's had its hiccups, and like we've had to work with them very closely to be like, no, this needs to be better, or like these applicants were poor. Like, how do we kind of weed out the bad ones? So I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and once you drop below like the 4% unemployment rate, a lot of people who are working either don't want to be working or they're not qualified to be working. Yeah. So how do we weed all that out?
Yeah.
So right now, like we have in their system in the back end, like we can say like, how was the applicant, or did the applicant no show? Because a lot of no shows happen as well.
Yeah.
So we're able to mark that and kind of help as a community to kind of cultivate that further.
Do you think the employees or the applicants know that you're also able to report on them? And so, I mean, I'm assuming that in Instawork, like you have, if I was an applicant I would have one login, not a login for every single application out there. So I wonder if it's like Uber, can you rate the applicant based on like how well they interviewed, if they showed up, that sort of thing? Does that stay in their system?
Right, so I don't know if it says on their end, but we're trying to also adapt it so they can say the same thing about us. Like, how were we as a company to discuss it, so that we can kind of see, in comparison to where else they're interviewing, get some good information back on us. Like, how was our application process? Also, like, how much are we offering versus somebody else? Like, is that, like, what...
Do you get that information back?
Right, so I'm getting, like, some of that back, but that's
cool.
That's what we're trying to build out further, like, into the dashboard, and that's what I'm trying to tell him for analytics.
Yeah.
As a restaurant, that's way more useful.
So what about after they get hired? Say you make the offer to them. Does InstaWork, do they help with sort of scheduling while they're working for you, or what do you use for schedules?
Right, there's no onboarding there, so training department, we just take that on and then schedule them accordingly.
Okay, so what are you using right now for schedule management for employees?
Schedule management for employees, we use ScheduleFly quite a bit in like the restaurants. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
So ScheduleFly in our restaurant concept, and then the other locations we're still just using like manual schedules, and a tisk.
Bad. There's so much out there you could be using.
There is. So yeah, we use honestly a lot of Google Docs to keep everything integrated. So we just have a Google Doc. It's already generated, so we just keep copying that over. And
that's true, but that's a really good takeaway, especially for smaller restaurants. Google Docs, I mean, we use it internally, and we're a large association, but that's like how we keep track of a lot of different things. It's so easy to co-work together. Some of the other things that I've seen in the space that InstaWork is in, Hot Schedules, which has been in the scheduling program for a while, they have Hot Schedules Recruit out right now, so you can recruit people that way. There's also Culinary Agents, Apploy, APPLOI, Industry, which is out of San Diego and sort of moving up this way. So I imagine they'll be here pretty soon. There's quite a few when it comes to like job listing, and ones that are trying to solve the whole LinkedIn for restaurant workers issue, because restaurant workers don't use LinkedIn like at all. Like it's just not the program for them. So they need something that more properly addresses them. And I think of all of them out there, Culinary Agents and Industry does the best job at sort of that. And we're working with them to integrate our ProStart and ServSafe certifications as well, so that you'll be able to see when someone applies, oh, this was a ProStart student, and this person already has ServSafe allergens, alcohol, and food handler. I'm probably going to hire them over someone else. So there's a lot of stuff out there right now. And then as far as scheduling work, there was a startup out of New Orleans for a while called Sidework that was really good, that was very good at sort of schedule management. Hot Schedules obviously is still like a big player in this area too. So anything else that you're using for employee management side of things?
Not currently. Right now I am looking at like a learning management system, so I'm kind of just vetting those at the moment. I really want to find something that's training based, it's a little more all-inclusive, and has a little, just a little bit quicker, because we're still doing everything paper-wise, and while we have like Google Docs that we're syncing it through, so we can see it via corporate side. It has to be graded then, the paper has to come to somebody, a trainer then has to grade it, put it into our system. Like, there's too many steps involved, so I feel like we really need to, that is our area of opportunity right now that I'd like to focus on and really drive home.
Cool. So you mentioned beacons earlier. Let's chat a little bit about that, because I love beacon technology. I think it's fantastic.
I know you had a whole segment on it yesterday.
I know, I got all giddy. So what are you using them for? When did you start using them? And do you program it yourself?
We do not. So this is actually another thing. Again, not working for Level Up, but this is part of our Level Up package. And right now, they only have their own like marketing structure built into it. So unfortunately, it's not that customizable right now. So I'm excited to hear about the whole regional thing you're doing, where like sending out a feedback format when they leave. I think that's excellent. Because right now, like for feedback, all we really have that's not third party is going to be for like deliveries, because we were concerned with Caviar and DoorDash and so forth. So we actually just like slipped a little piece of paper in there, like go to our website at this link, and here's your form to let us know how it was and who was your courier. Oh, that's perfect. Right. That's really cool. So beyond that, like anything else you're dreaming up to use beacons for, in-house or for consumers? Beacons, like I said, the other beacon thing that I'm wanting to layer on next is going to be the allergen, and like really customizing my marketing. Okay. especially with so many people like in our downtown area that are constantly there and walking by. I want to be able to ping them every so often and say, hey, we're still thinking about you, or hey, come back, we've not seen you in a little while.
Yeah. So what's, obviously you have to use an app whenever you have beacons. That's how it works.
Right.
So what are you seeing as far as like downloads of your app? Is that still going really well? Are people using it? Are they downloading it and then deleting it? What have you seen?
I think people are still using it. They really want to get the loyalty benefit out of it. So I think because we've locked it into our loyalty program, I think it's kind of what pulls them in. And now that we've brought in online ordering as well, I think that it's enough to keep people wanting to use it and skipping the line.
Yeah, it is. It's very helpful for sure. Okay, one second. I keep referencing my questions, by the way. I'm not like
she's texting.
I'm not
she's
texting.
up here.
This guy
Get off
doesn't know
Facebook.
what he's saying. Okay, so with some companies, we talk about a tech stack, and with a lot of retail companies and businesses, a tech stack is basically everything you're using technology-wise that can communicate to each other. So you have like your POS is usually your base. And then you've got your loyalty programs, your apps, employee engagement, all that stuff that sort of stacks above it. And you want to make sure it all can communicate with one another. So what is your full tech stack at Plant Cafe?
So full tech stack, I kind of already talked about like POS integration. So
But which
all
POS
that.
are you using?
Unfortunately, we're still using Aloha.
Boo.
I know, expensive, but unfortunately integrates into a lot more third-party software still.
Yes.
So I am still looking for and vetting numerous POS systems and just waiting for somebody to kind of catch up. I think we're all kind of in that same boat though. So we're using them, but so that integrates with our online ordering system that's through a website or in our app. And then the app is also by Level Up. So it's kind of, that's an all-in-one.
Yeah.
But then as far as reporting, we use C2it. So we use C2it to just pull all that data out of the Aloha. And it's also our manager log. So it's all of our internal communication, all of our staffing notes, any absentees, etc. Like we can track everything through there and have it all in kind of one place.
Nice.
So it works really well for reporting in particular. You don't have to go to all these multiple places trying to pull your reports. I can still go to staffing and say, hey, I see you've been, late the past three times, like the past month, or I can go in and pull a PMIX. So that's kind of our tech stack at the moment. It kind of integrates everything for us.
Nice. And are you using, since someone asked about marketing earlier, what are you using for social media management right now?
So social media management, we actually have just one person who's kind of just overseeing that department. She does multiple things, but this is her favorite.
Good.
So kind of just like blowing up on Instagram is kind of our biggest one right now.
Okay.
Because we have beautiful food and it's handcrafted and we want to really capture that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just finding which brand or which social media works best for your brand.
Sure.
And kind of pushing it out that way. So, but food-wise, I think Instagram is a really big seller.
Yeah.
People are on there all the time, and they might not be thinking about lunch, but when they see your awesome like dino kale salad or something, then to say, hey, I actually want to go. Let's go to the plant for lunch today. So yeah, it's not heavy marketing. It's not in your face. It's just kind of like
nudge marketing.
Yeah.
Nice. So what do you think is still missing in hospitality technology, or what are you looking forward to? Not just with Plant, but other things too.
In general, I really want to see something more robust for back of house.
Yep.
I think that a lot of like our costing systems and nutritional data, I feel like it's very disjointed. So like you've got Chef Tech, which is an old player, but it's like something out of the 90s when you try to use it.
They're here.
Hi Chef Tech. Sorry. But like they have a lot of competition now. Like, and
Yes.
it's a great robust software and it has a lot in the back end. But there's a lot of things that it doesn't offer. Like they're not doing like OCR. I can't intelligently scan in my invoices and link everything really quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking for somebody who kind of steps up to the plate and does all of it, because I want it to work for my executive chef,
Right.
but as well as my finance team,
Right.
and stop doubling the work.
Okay.
So I think that's really what we have the most room to grow in.
Yeah.
Something with nutritional data, costing, all the finance stuff.
So, two thoughts on that one. Food Genius out of Chicago is doing some interesting stuff around that area, at least as far as nutritional information and sort of the process of food through a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this other startup out of Philly called Shoebox It's spelled like the French word for cabbage,
Right.
like Choux, Shoebox. And they're doing some really interesting invoice management stuff too.
Yeah, I saw that.
They didn't pay me.
So for the processing you're talking about, like, what did you mean with the first one? I didn't catch that.
Food Genius?
Food Genius,
So
yeah.
what they're doing is they're able to, they do some really interesting stuff. They can do menu development, but they can also do sort of the food process when it enters the kitchen and how it exits. So for example, if you order chickpeas, but it leaves your kitchen as hummus, like they can kind of tell you like how much of this you need to order in order to produce this, and what to do with the waste that might result from it as well. So they've got all sorts of things. They also have this really cool free tool online. I don't remember what it's called, but you can go there and like look up information that is not in your area currently and find some really cool ingredients. So for example, I ran through it, excuse me, one day. Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah. You need some pause music or
Yeah, right?
Okay. Tune the elevator.
Anyway, so they can find up some rare ingredients that you can use in your kitchen as well, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the waste thing's kind of fascinating. So it's kind of like gauging how much waste would be like left over from this vegetable product that I'm chopping, or is that kind of
Yes,
the okay?
exactly.
Awesome.
So sorry. Oh my God. Okay, switching gears. So what's the coolest thing you've seen in tech overall recently? Not just restaurant tech, but in general.
In general, I'm kind of fascinated by the home automation. I think it's really cool what they're doing, but it's, again, super disjointed and not user-friendly at all. So there's actually a newer device that just got funded called Zoe. And so Zoe's kind of trying to take that like Smart Things hub, which I'm not sure if you guys know about that, kind of tries to integrate like the Philip Hughes lights and the like August locks, and it tries to like adapt everything together. But then like if you want to be voice command, then you've got to buy Alexa, and then like everything's just so disconnected. So this product is trying to be like an all-in-one. It's called Zoe, so instead of Alexa, and it's
Who's
just
selling it?
Protonet, I think, is the name of the company. But like I said, super new, and so just the latest gadget that I'm excited about, I guess. But it basically just like sits on your wall and it'll talk to you, and then it learns as well. So if you want to like learn something, instead of like going through the back end and having to program it, you voice command her and say, hey, I want the lights to turn off every time I exit this room. And so then she remembers that, or hey, when I enter this room, I want to change the temperature.
Nice.
So she's a little more intuitive, which I really like, because right now, I mean, I have the Smart Things at home, and it's a nightmare, honestly. Like trying to keep everything like running, and it'll break. And the other part is it's cloud-based, so security issues all over the place. And like I have a Wi-Fi camera that watches my front door, but I don't know who gets to see that also.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So with Zoe, she's all local. There's no cloud. It's just one server, like internally, that runs everything.
Interesting.
So kind of, really addresses the security issues as well as the multiple devices trying to get one effect.
That's cool. I think the coolest thing I've seen recently, everything I see is restaurant related. I don't even think I notice anything. I mean, retail and restaurants, all I focus on, is something called Craver. Kraver, I think is how it's spelled.
Okay.
And they sit on top of messaging services right now. So they sit on top of Slack right now, but they're going into Facebook Messenger and a bunch of other things. But it's predictive artificial intelligence for restaurant ordering. So
Wow.
if you're typing in Slack, for example, and you say like, I'm hungry or something, all you have to do is say, hey Craver, I'm kind of hungry right now. And they learn your habits over time. So, and it's just like texting back and forth to a friend, well, what are you hungry for? I'd like tacos. Are you allergic to anything? And you can say, I'm allergic to peanuts, and they'll remember that too. And so they're working on like sort of predictive ordering, as opposed to us as consumers making the push. It's pushing to us instead, which I think is really fascinating. And again, not to plug them again, but Level Up is working on something around this as well, to where like if you pass by a restaurant or it gets to be around the time you normally order from Plant, it will prompt the user and say, hey, do you want your normal quinoa bowl? And you can just say yes, as opposed to you having to initiate it, which is awesome. I think we're headed more in that direction.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think so. So we'd love to take some questions if you guys have some. Happy to elaborate on anything as well. Do you have anything? If not, that's fine too. Thank you so much for being here this morning and for sticking around. And Doug and I will be over here to the side later if you have some more questions.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.